There was a time when cooking didn't come with warnings. Not because people were careless, but because kitchens weren't controlled yet. In the 1960s, food was built on habit. Not trends, not labels, not fear. People cooked the way they were taught, by watching, repeating, and trusting experience. If something worked, it stayed. If it didn't, it faded away. These methods weren't banned overnight. They disappeared slowly, replaced by convenience products, advertising, and modern rules that promised better results. But some of those old methods didn't vanish because they failed. They vanished because we stopped valuing them. Here are 15 kitchen tricks from the 60s that were pushed aside, even though they worked. 1. Bacon grease. Every kitchen had a jar near the stove, sometimes ceramic, sometimes an old coffee can. Inside was strained bacon grease, saved carefully after Sunday breakfast. It wasn't seen as unhealthy. It was seen as useful. That fat-flavored eggs, fried vegetables, and cornbread. It added richness to food that didn't need seasoning packets or bottled sauces. Every drop mattered, because throwing it away made no sense. Later, bacon grease became a villain. Doctors warned against it. Families were told to discard it and replace it with processed alternatives. The jar disappeared, and with it, much of the flavor people grew up loving. 2. Wax paper. Before parchment paper filled store shelves, wax paper lined cake pans everywhere. It was cut by hand, pressed into place, and trusted without question. Cakes released cleanly. Bottoms stayed intact. No expensive sprays were needed. The wax coating created a simple barrier that worked every time. Eventually, it was labeled unsuitable for baking. Parchment replaced it. But many bakers still remember how dependable wax paper once was, and how little it cost. 3. Cream tartar. That small tin in the cupboard wasn't decoration. Cream of tartar was essential. A tiny pinch stabilized egg whites and turned them into tall, glossy meringue. Pies didn't collapse. Peaks didn't fall. Desserts held their shape for hours without refrigeration. It wasn't magic. It was chemistry, understood through repetition. Today, recipes suggest shortcuts. Lemon juice, vinegar, substitutes. But none behave as reliably as that forgotten powder did in 1960s kitchens. 4. Sifted flour. Flour wasn't dumped straight from the bag. It was sifted, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times. Not for tradition, but for results. Sifting removed lumps, added air, and evenly distributed leavening. Cakes baked lighter. Crumbs stayed tender. Textures felt intentional. Modern flour claims to be pre-sifted, but many bakers quietly admit the difference is real. The old way required patience and rewarded it. 5. Ice lettuce. Wilted lettuce wasn't thrown away. It was rescued. A bowl of cold water brought limp leaves back to life in minutes. Food wasn't disposable. Grocery trips weren't constant. If something could be saved, it was. This simple trick kept salads on the table and money in pockets. It reflected a mindset that valued food, not perfection. 6. Coffee cans. Empty coffee cans weren't trash. They were tools. Strong metal walls made them perfect for steaming bread evenly. Brown bread cooked slowly, gently, and consistently. Slices came out moist and uniform, something modern molds still struggle to match. When coffee companies changed packaging, the cans disappeared. And quietly, so did the technique. 7. Foil liners. Foil-lined broiler pans weren't about laziness. They were about efficiency. Foil reflected heat evenly, improved browning, and caught clean drippings for gravy. Cleanup took seconds instead of scrubbing. Time saved in the kitchen meant time spent elsewhere, often with family. That mattered. 8. Baking beans. Dried beans took hours to soften. A small pinch of baking soda cut that time nearly in half. The alkaline environment softened tough skins and made beans easier to digest. It wasn't guesswork, it was learned behavior. Measured carefully, it worked beautifully. Too much ruined the pot. Precision mattered. 9. Tomato balance. When sauce tasted too acidic, sugar wasn't the answer. Baking soda was. A small pinch neutralized excess acid instantly. You could hear it fizz. You could taste the difference. It didn't mask flavor. It corrected it. A chemical solution to a common problem, long before bottled sauces existed. 10. Bread steam. Day-old bread wasn't stale forever. Wrapped in a damp towel and warmed gently, it became soft again. Steam restored moisture. Texture returned. Leftovers felt fresh. Food didn't need to be replaced, just respected. 11. Milk desserts. Evaporated milk made creamy desserts without machines. Whipped cold, it formed soft peaks and smooth fillings. Icebox pies came together without baking or churning. Cheap ingredients fed many people. It wasn't flashy. It was dependable. 12. Dough proofing. Gas ovens provided steady warmth from their pilot lights. Dough rose slowly and evenly without special equipment. No drafts. No guessing. No expense. When pilot lights disappeared, bakers lost a free solution they'd relied on for decades. 13. Chip topping. Potato chips crushed over casseroles added crunch, salt, and texture. They browned beautifully and stayed crisp. They also used up half-empty bags that might have gone stale. Even vegetables became appealing. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. 14. Butter burgers. Burgers baked in the oven with butter stayed juicy and flavorful. No grill. No smoke. No splatter. Dinner cooked while the table was set. The house filled with familiar smells. Simple food. No stress. 15. Potato fix. Oversalted soup didn't mean failure. Raw potatoes absorbed excess salt naturally. The soup was saved. Dinner continued. Mistakes weren't disasters, just problems to solve. That confidence came from experience, not recipes. Final thoughts. None of these methods were considered clever. They weren't branded. They weren't documented. They were simply lived, quietly and repeatedly. They didn't disappear because they stopped working. They disappeared because we stopped trusting them. And looking back, what surprises us isn't how old these tricks feel. It's how much sense they still make. If this video brought back a memory, like the video and subscribe to American Restored, because remembering how kitchens once worked helps us understand what quietly disappeared.